I think you had shared you earned just $11,000 your first year in real estate.
Yes.
What kept you going when most people are like, well, I gave it a shot. I tried it. This isn't for me.
Truly, in that first year, I was like a solo broker. I took a step back and I pretty much offered my service to everyone in the office of, I will work for free for you. I just want to learn, see how you're doing it. And I just shadowed best brokers, watching the way that they were speaking to clients, the way that they were communicating, the way we were presenting. I just tried to learn as much as I can to change, like, how are my nerves presenting themselves? Does my nervous smile and my laugh a signal? Because the reality is the difference between then and now is taking 2 or 3 seconds to respond when someone asks me a question to now, like the instant buy-in, the moment that you ask me something, I know what I'm going to say. And it's the conviction and the authority in which I say it. People are like, oh, I believe what you're saying and I want to hear more. And it's literally that 3-second difference went from making $11,000 my first year, $50,000 my second year, to a few years later, starting my own company.
All right, today's guest is one of the most driven and influential leaders in modern real estate, Bianca D'Alessio. Bianca is the founder and CEO of the Masters Division, where she leads a top-producing multi-market luxury team across New York City, the Hamptons, and international markets. Many of you know Bianca as one of the breakout stars of the HBO series Selling the Hamptons, where viewers watch her navigate multi-million-dollar listings, lead high-stakes negotiation, and manage team dynamics while under the pressure of cameras and international attention. I can only imagine what that's like doing all that. And I'm definitely going to ask you about it. Her poise, command, and authenticity on the show turned her into one of the franchise's most compelling personalities, giving audiences a real look at what it takes to lead one of the most competitive luxury markets in the world. She is also the author of Mastering Intentions, where she outlines the principles that fueled her rise from a 21-year-old agent to a nationally recognized leader and media figure. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and hit the subscribe button, Zach, to the Matthews Mentality Podcast. Bianca, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. I'm so excited to be here today.
Well, where are we? We're in beautiful New York City, your home base.
Yes, we are. This is such a beautiful setup you have here.
Well, I know we're paying a lot by the hour.
Yeah.
Theorist at theorist.studios, the homeboy Asher. If you're into podcasting, best place to go, right? See?
Love that call out.
Yeah, I just plugged Asher. He's not even here. He went to the restroom. Yeah. So anyway, what's up, Asher? How is the resi market in New York?
So there's a lot in the news and the media right now.
What's happened? Has anything happened here recently?
Post-election.
Oh yeah, that. Oh, the communist guy. Yeah.
Him. Which is fascinating because the 45 days prior to the election, the market was very quiet. Yeah. And then we had the most expansive week over Thanksgiving in the luxury markets, which is jarring that we've seen in years. So different pockets are performing differently. I'm very fortunate that my business is a little different than a lot of other residential because I do a lot of new development. So I work with, my main business is working with developers from site acquisition, building and designing condo towers.
So you get in that early?
Oh yeah, years and years before a building goes up.
Interesting.
And so having that market share and differentiation of price points from $1 million home to, $15 and $20 million penthouses, we have a lot of diversification in the market right now. So holistically, we're still chugging along.
And this is a super loaded question, but who is buying luxury, high end residential in New York?
Honestly, we're still continuing to see a lot of New Yorkers buying New York apartments. That's where we're seeing the most activity in the $3 to $10 million range, and then we're still getting a good amount from different international buyers, not as many European buyers as we used to see in the most recent, call it 6 months, but we still have a good international presence as well with the upper end.
How much of it is this, I think recent figures I saw was like 80 trillion generational wealth transfer, boomers to Gen X, millennial. How much is it that 3 to 10 million really successful professionals in their 30s and 40s versus this new thing? It appears like, hey, I'm going to buy you a $3 million starter home.
I would say it's probably 40% self-made 30 to 40-year-olds, and then the rest is families or parents assisting their children with purchasing.
Man.
Yeah.
Those parents
Those good parents.
Those parents must have loved me more. Those parents must have loved their kids more than my parents loved me. I asked my dad to co-sign on my first home, and he said no.
Really?
Yeah, out of principle.
Wow.
Yeah, true story.
Great lesson you learned
Yeah,
there.
I probably should go to therapy.
Yeah.
I bring it up. My dad and I are very close. I bring it up to him every time.
Yeah.
He said, "Well, Kyle, if I have 4 siblings, and he said if I do it for you, I have to do it for everyone." And that's actually not true. I think he did it for them and didn't do it for me. Yeah. It's really good.
But I bet you learned the better lesson.
I did. No. Listen, like I said, my dad and I are very close. The most valuable lessons I learned from my father were the most painful at the time, you know?
Totally. It's funny you say this because I was having this conversation with my father last night. We were talking about, I made a joke. In 2009, he took me to and I was much younger than I am now. I was pretty young, to a bankruptcy attorney. He was in real estate development. And I remember sitting at a conference table, like with a bankruptcy attorney, and he turned after that meeting, he goes, "This is going to be one of the best lessons you learn." And I was like terrified, like, are we going to lose everything? Like so young. And he's like, "This is what happens in business. We have to figure out, we have to restructure." And so I was joking about that with him yesterday. He's like, "And wasn't that a great lesson that you learned?" I'm like, yes. Restructure early.
I think people now use the word like trauma to describe probably that meeting.
Oh, no. I learned those great nuggets, golden nuggets that happen.
Is that how you got into real estate, your dad?
So my father was in real estate development, yes. It's what eventually brought me back. It's what originally gave me the aversion to want to go out and branch. So prior to getting into real estate, I was in leadership development for women, and I traveled full-time doing that.
So let's tell the audience, what is your day-to-day? What's your role? What does kind of a day in the life of Bianca look like?
So I am the founder and CEO of the Masters Division, or one of the largest residential luxury real estate marketing and brokerage teams in the country. We're #1 for transaction volume in New York City and state, and #8 in the nation, which only 4 years since I started the company, which has been really amazing. But how I've been able to segment and differentiate, I've been in real estate for about 12 years now. Normal real estate sales. A handful of years ago, I realized my niche of development marketing and strategy, looking at controlling the market, large volume sales, and being able to take a strategic approach when you own the market share and you control the data and the buyer pool coming in. And now you have all of these properties to sell. How are you harvesting that data? How are you recording it? And then how are you upselling them and continuing to monetize those people who are coming from a project in 2018 to upsell them to their next apartment in 2022? So I've worked on pre-construction, so like designing floor plans, picking finishes, curating amenity spaces, and then doing all the marketing and storytelling for individual condo units, from a 6-unit building to an 800-unit building in New York. And I've done that for 80 development buildings in New York.
We were talking, I don't know if it was on the show, we were talking offline about your saying how early you get involved in the process. Literally when a developer is evaluating a piece of dirt, you're getting involved. And it makes sense as soon as I heard it, but I never thought about that. So it's early on. Yeah,
it's years. I've worked on a project I'm working on right now. I started on 10 years ago with like, here's the land, what should I build? And now it exists.
I don't think a lot of people in other professions really, I don't want to say appreciate, can grasp. And full disclosure, I'm in commercial residential, and there's clear differences, but there are a lot of similarities. One of which is there are so many jobs, projects that we work on that will never, ever get paid.
Oh,
ever.
So many.
Like, and just thinking of all that work you do up front, how many of those projects you go and meet with the developer, you give them your thoughts, and then 3 months, 6 months, 12 months later, he's like, yeah, I ended up not buying, or I didn't get the approvals, or I didn't get the permits,
A ton. I would say even still today, it's probably, call it 10 to 15% of my day is working on every day is working on projects that I don't know if will ever materialize. And then you hit the one that does, and you're like, okay, well, that's a $1 billion sellout. So it makes sense, but there's a lot that don't. Yeah.
I always say, you might get a little overpaid on the deal that closes, because there's like 100 deals where you did everything right and you got paid nothing. And that's the feast or famine, nature of real estate, and especially real estate brokerage. So let's talk about that. One of the first things I had written down and is I think you had shared you earned just $11,000 your first year in real estate.
Yes.
That's 11,000 more than I earn.
Yes.
So you're better than
Right?
me. Yeah, you're rich. No, but what kept you going when most people are like, well, I gave it a shot. I tried it. This isn't for me.
Gosh, I think in that first year, I remember looking back and I know that I can learn what I need to learn in real estate to be successful. What I hadn't figured out was how do I work on Bianca to become a better salesperson? And I realized very quickly my struggle was my confidence. And I was like, okay, if I keep working on building my confidence, and I said, I gave myself 6 more months. I'm like, keep focusing on building my confidence, how I'm showing up, how am I presenting myself? I think once I figure that out, the sales will start to follow. And so I took much more of an introspective approach of how do I work on me for how I'm connecting with people? Because in the beginning, it was very clear my energy was giving off. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was just trying to be friendly to people.
Yeah.
But like people could read through that. And so I needed to just change my approach. And that's what I started working on and refining.
So we haven't known each other a long time, but even when you walk to the room, your energy's, getting a great
high.
way off the charts. You seem just someone like you meet and you're like, oh, I really like this person. But what did you do then to make, and I don't know if this is a word used, the credibility, like,
Yep.
and your advisory to kind of get that to a point where it matched your energy and enthusiasm?
So truly in that first year, I was like a solo broker. I worked on a team, but I was kind of just trying to figure it out. I took a step back and I pretty much offered my service to everyone in the office of I will work for free for you. I just want to learn, see how you're doing it. And I just shadowed the best brokers, watching the way that they were speaking to clients, the way that they were communicating, the way we were presenting. I just learned. I just tried to learn as much as I can to change. How am I showing up? Like, how are my nerves presenting themselves? Does my nervous smile and my laugh a signal? Because the reality is the difference between then and now is taking 2 or 3 seconds to respond when someone asks me a question to now, like the instant buy-in, the moment that you ask me something, I know what I'm going to say. And it's the conviction and the authority in which I say it. People are like, oh, I believe what you're saying and I want to hear more. And it's literally that 3-second difference that went from making 11,000 my first year, 50,000 my second year to a few years later, starting my own company.
Are there times where you're not totally certain of the answer, but you answer quickly with conviction because like that's just part of coming across as confident?
For sure.
Especially as a CEO?
I think absolutely. There's not always going to be one definitive right answer, but there is the answer that feels right to my gut in that moment. And there's also a level of confidence I have now of being okay saying, this may not be the forever answer, but this is the strategy we're going to try today because I know if we try this strategy and we put everything we have behind it and it doesn't work, then we gave it our best shot and then we pivot.
One of the things, it's clear you're a champion for women, right?
Yes.
I've interviewed a lot of women who sat in that chair, and it seems there's a more common theme is, hey, I doubted, I lacked confidence early on. How much of that do you think in your case was just unique to you? And how much of that do you think is something maybe women more generally suffer from early in their careers or professions, just a lack of confidence relative to their male counterparts?
I think most women struggle with it.
Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it's programming.
What type of programming?
From how you're raised, to when you start in your career, to figuring out where your voice is. It's easier, and I realize this. I look back at my 22-year-old self in real estate. My male counterpart at 22 was a lot louder. He projected himself a lot more. He was a lot more authoritative. So because of that, in order to compete with that, I would have needed to bring myself up 6 or 7 notches that I wasn't ready to do. So inherently, it made me look less confident outwardly. And then I internalized it to say, well, maybe he's smarter than I am. Maybe he knows more than I do. Like, what am I doing wrong? Or why does he have a secret sauce that I don't know about? But then I think that compounds over time. And I think that's the very scary part for a lot of women. And I even see it now with women on my team who I work with, with women who are in their 40s and 50s and 60s when they're talking about how are they negotiating higher salaries? How are they putting themselves out there? How are they demanding what they want? I think there's a lot of societal expectation for what box women need to fit into. And so it starts to get uncomfortable when they start to shake things up, use their voice, or control and own their own narrative.
Are you seeing that improve with the younger generation? I'm generalizing. Like, there's other things that maybe not improving, but like the confidence of young women, a 25-year-old versus a 45-year-old, the inherent confidence. They're too confident?
I think there's a lot of volume with younger women. They speak more. They're on social media more. They're voicing their opinion. I think that's also coming across in a lot of entitlement. We just talked about how long and how many things we work on before they actually come to fruition. I think a big struggle with a lot of a younger generation becomes the longevity that you need to have in any arena. The grind. You need to have the grind. And so a lot of that instant gratification and satisfaction, I think, diminishes that. But I do love to see that women are using their voice more. Younger women are using their voice more. But it can't be at a detriment to their male counterpart. You know, no one should be putting anyone else down. It's just owning your own narrative, your story, and your voice to be able to project and know what you deserve and stand up for it, not in an entitled way. Market research, data, where are you coming into this? What is your position? And then negotiating with that standpoint.
I have 2 daughters. What advice would you have for me or for fathers to help raise daughters to be more confident and more assertive early on?
Owning their voice in like the smallest ways. Like, I think back to, where did my confidence build from? Ordering at a restaurant. When I bought something I didn't want, returning at the store. Like the small things that you don't necessarily think about, but making the uncomfortable asks. Understanding what they bring to the world and helping them see, like, they're smart, they're beautiful, they're funny, they make people laugh. All of the things that make them so incredibly unique, having them be reflective on that and not comparative. Because I think that's the scariest part with young women. With young society, is how easy it is now to compare because of how fast we consume everything, because of the school system, you know, so many different things, right? So being so sure of who they are and values. Family values are phenomenally important to me. How you show up, your respect for other people, the loyalty you have to your family unit, the commitment and self-respect you have to yourself. So I think helping your daughters understand and see their values and have the assurance in that it doesn't matter if other people are doing things differently. You know, be creative, think outside the box, but you always come back to who you are.
And did you learn that from your dad, who's a developer?
Both of my parents raised me with strong family values.
And
strong values in general.
And that's something you also try and kind of apply to your workplace.
Oh, absolutely. Helping understand what the values are as a company, and then individually, how does each person show up? Because just because we have these company values, you know, everyone else comes from a different place with a different story, with a different narrative of what it means. You know, what is the importance of work? What is the importance of how we show up and the commitment that we have here? What is the meaning of money and the satisfaction it brings us? So how do we have those conversations so we understand what motivates, or what inspires, and how do we find commonality within each other?
I want to focus a little bit on your entry into real estate, and then I'll kind of tie it to luxury real estate because that is different. What was a big obstacle? You already touched on one, which was your confidence and changing kind of how you projected, right? What was another obstacle, objection, or just challenge you faced early in your career that you really was a struggle to work on to overcome, but eventually you did?
I think being everything to everyone and saying yes all of the time was something that I found myself doing for years.
Being agreeable, right?
Just being a chicken with my head cut off, running in a million different directions for things that didn't always pan out. Now, listen, I learned a lot of things, the people to work for, people I didn't want to work for and with, the business I wanted to work on. But I spent a lot of time chasing different opportunities because I didn't figure out what the path forward was to be able to start to build a business and a brand with a reputation. I just was saying yes to everyone, and I wanted to be helpful to everyone. And I think I got a lot of validation being helpful and being seen as valuable, that I needed to change that own narrative in my head of who am I allowing to make me feel valuable. That needs to come from within, not from others' validation. So that big shift, which only happened a few years ago and I'm still working on, was something that I really needed to change for how I say yes and no to people, relationships, business, money, everything.
What was that aha moment in your career where you said, you know what, I think I could do this. I think I'm going to make it, and perhaps I might make it big.
So prior to starting my company, I had started a different company and I had partners. And until that point in time, I had never, ever seen myself as being a CEO or a founder. I was the best number 2 ever. And I was so proud of that. Like, I am a great operator. I'm great behind the scenes. And then that very quickly, partnership ended. And it was my chance to step into my own light. And I'm like, I'm either going to fail or I'm going to make something and I'm going to step into my power and succeed. So I just put my head down and just kept going. But I would have never done that. I can't say never. At that point in time, I would have never taken the risk or the chance to do that on my own if I hadn't been pushed to be burned by someone else and be like, now is my time to step into my own power.
Yeah, it's been so surprising for me in this this role, to be able to interview so many founders, successful in all different industries. And before I started this, if you had asked me, how many do you think like it was some strategic plan and vision, I would say, oh, that's the majority, right? And actually the majority has been people like yourself, where there wasn't some plan. And while nobody, nobody's a victim, nobody twists your arm to start a company. It's like they were almost forced to do it through circumstances a little bit outside of their control. How did you overcome the fear of failure? Because fear of failure paralyzes most people from doing these big things.
I would say I'm still working to overcome it, right?
And I think fear of failure, there's a financial fear of failure, but at least for me, a lot of fear of failure is fear of what other people think of me if I fail.
Yes.
Right?
So I don't think I have struggled with that as much as of recently. I think, again, when I attributed my self-worth to other people's opinions, it would have been a different answer. But today, I think I've worked so hard to understand how far I've come. And I think I've also taken a different approach to how I evaluate my failures. And every one of my biggest failures in life has been the turning point for what has been the next moment that has started the momentum of greatness.
Catalyst.
It's been the catalyst,
Yeah.
It's been a trigger that
Sure.
has set me free. So I think now that I frame it at that, it's like almost when I start to get stagnant is when I start to get really itchy and uncomfortable, right? I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that feeling of like, what's next? So like, it's almost like when that happens, it's like, okay, something great's going to happen. I need to be grateful of that failure, of that opportunity, of the learning moment, and then just put my head down and wait for when things are going to change, because the assurance that I know of what I am doing is right is so wrong, because I have stayed true to my values, because I treat people kind. I show up for my business. You have to stay positive in a sea of negativity. So if I keep doing all of those things, I fully believe it's eventually going to work out.
Let's talk luxury real estate. Okay. What is the biggest, at least in your opinion, what is the biggest misconception, misunderstanding that people have about luxury real estate?
Probably the biggest, because of a lot of these shows, is that these deals happen overnight is probably the biggest misconception, and that they're really easy to put together.
Hold on real quick. How many of the deals on the shows appear to happen, but then after the show's been clipped, it like falls out of escrow?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
It's a snippet in time. You know real estate as well as I do.
Listen,
the deal is not over until the money is on the other side of the table.
I found out this. I watched like the first, this was 20 years ago, whatever the first selling something was. It was in Los Angeles. And I watched the show because I'm like, oh, I'm in real estate. I thought it was super cool. And I ended up meeting a client about a commercial building he owned. And all of a sudden, like, he was the seller in an episode. So when I saw him again, I was like, by the way, I saw you on the TV show, selling Sunset. I don't know what it was. I said, congrats, man. That was a great sale. He's like, oh, that sale, that didn't make. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it didn't sell. I was like, oh, my world just came crashing down.
I know. Yeah.
But it makes for good TV.
It makes for great TV.
Speaking of TV, how did the opportunity for selling the Hamptons come about? Like, how does it, do you get a call?
So it was it was right after the pandemic. All of my business in New York dried up.
I was going to say, yeah.
And so my clients started moving to the Hamptons. And I was like, well, I can learn a new market and start selling in the Hamptons, or I could sit here and do nothing. So I started doing that. So I had started transacting far more in the Hamptons. And at that point in time, the show was fully cast, and they were at the final round of looking for final cast member. They approached me because they were very specifically looking for a strong female character.
And was that something you like submit your resume, or somebody said, hey, you should talk to this gal?
No, there were the agents were at the brokerage that I was working at.
Okay.
And so they were, looking from within.
What was your biggest hesitation doing reality TV?
Oh, that my whole life was going to be aired into the entire world. It was a very challenging personal point in time for me. At that point in time, it was a few years after my father was convicted of a felony. And I knew that was going to come out on TV. And I was horrified of that because for so long I'd had this black cloud following me of I'm trying to build my brand and my reputation, but I don't want this to come out again. And it was actually, that was the biggest gift that came out of the show.
How so?
Being able to release that black cloud.
And
this is my story and I own it. And like the power of vulnerability and authenticity for how I show up, how I connect to people, how I connect to my clients. My father was a real estate developer. All of my clients are real estate developers. There is no one who understands how sideways and how bad those deals could go and how personally I've been affected more than me. And so the way that I'm able to connect and the way that I take so much passion and pride in what I'm doing and the valuation that I'm not just going to give you a number that's a number. I'm going to make sure I'm spending your money like I would be spending mine. And we're going to look at the deal and we're going to analyze it. We're going to really be careful. We're going to take risks when we want to, when it's the right project, but we also have to weigh all of the other market conditions and be aware of it. And as long as I'm able to do that because I care and I want to protect my clients, that shows more than anything. And it's what's allowed me to retain my clients far more than other brokers.
So that's hindsight.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But you do the show.
Yes.
And your biggest fear comes
true?
true?
That's going to come out. Oh, yeah. It did come out.
And it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? And then what happens? Like,
oh, well, if you even still all these years later, if you Google my name, that is the first thing that comes up. The power of media, right?
Yeah.
But that's okay. Hindsight. I won't go there. It was terrifying. And I just knew I needed to keep owning it and talking about it. But it was very uncomfortable.
But you're on the show. Like, did you get a phone call? Like, hey, just heads up, I'm going to be writing this story. Like,
oh no, it was while we were filming. I was like, I think this is when the show drops. I think this is going to come out. And the producer was like, yeah, of course it is. I was like, okay. How are we going to tell the story? Like, are we going to just let the press and the media write it, or are we going to talk about it on the show? So they gave me the opportunity to talk about it on the show.
What was the 30-second cliff notes?
Oh, we were in a kitchen talking with another castmate about, the pressure.
About your dad's story, about what happened.
Oh, my father was a real estate developer. His projects went bust, filed for bankruptcy. The investors came after him, and he was very quickly pled guilty and was sentenced to 72 months in prison. Cliff notes. And here we are a decade later.
Only 20 seconds. You had 10 extra more seconds. It comes out. Mm-hmm. How quickly did you realize it actually would become the blessing you described?
Oh, months. Months later.
So there was a dark period.
Yeah.
A tough time.
There was a lot of tough times because at the same time of the show coming out, I had ended an 8-year relationship and I had started my current business. All at the same time. So like I was
threes, right?
I was like dealing with all of that of like stepping into my CEO era,
boss lady.
The business partnership ending, my personal relationship ending, and like, who am I? How do I show up? All of this to say I'm 28 years old and I don't know what the heck I'm doing, right? I don't know how to run a business. I don't know how to be on reality TV. And I still hadn't dealt with the true trauma of everything that had happened to my family. And now I was dealing with it publicly. So it took a while of like regrounding and took years. Like I won't sugarcoat that at all. It takes years to unravel yourself from major traumas. And even when you enter new levels and new heights in your professional career, when you're leveling up, for your mind to catch up to how your body is showing up in the world, like there's an adjustment period. So all those things were happening at the same time.
How did you push through? Yeah. How'd you get through that?
It manifested truly in not taking care of myself, not sleeping, that fear of failure we talked about. Like, okay, am I doing the right thing? Was this the right decision? Am I going to lose business? Can I take care of people? Are my teammates going to lose business? Like, did I just put their lives at jeopardy? And then I think after I spoke about it with my biggest clients and got their opinions and like was able to level set back down of like, listen, just keep showing up and doing the job. My job is to sell real estate. My job is to help people grow their real estate careers. Keep doing that. How it actually started to shift and change was that the people who worked for me saw a different side to me that made me human. That allowed them to talk about their families and their why and their personal lives versus the robot Bianca who was just working 20 hours a day, truly just because I couldn't sleep. Like now I was starting to talk about the things that make life really messy. And you know what? We're all going through them. Mm-hmm. So it became a totally different trajectory in my leadership career adjacent to my real estate career.
It did. In ways, it sounds like it endeared you to them more.
Oh, absolutely. For sure.
What is something that happens on a show like Selling the Hamptons behind the scenes that the casual viewer doesn't see?
That it takes 4 hours to film 5 minutes of TV. Yeah. So it was a true like 12 to 14 hours of filming a day was a lot of filming and also you have to do it in different angles for different cameras. The same exact steps all over again. It's a lot of
exhausting.
Yeah, it was exhausting. Fun, but exhausting.
How many takes would it be like of signing a listing agreement?
Like 3.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, actually, now we're going to put the camera on top of the pen. So just sign a little more drama.
What's the craziest or funniest thing that didn't make the cut?
So day one of filming, I had a meeting in the city that ended late. And so I am speeding to get to the Hamptons and my tire blows on the side of the LIE. So I left my car parked on the LIE, took an Uber to get an hour and a half to get to filming and showed up like no hair, no makeup, like a mess. Yeah. But I was so proud I was there. I'm like, you just show up and everyone's like, are you sure you're ready to go on? I'm like, this is a job. I'm here to do the job. Like, let's go. And so that was pretty funny and pretty crazy.
It seems to me from the outside that when you're on TV and you have a lot of camera time, it changes how people feel like they can approach you personally or professionally who don't know you, like just maybe on the streets. Did you notice a change and did it have an effect?
I did notice a change.
I feel like people think they know you and you're like, we've never met.
Not only do people think they know you, they think that you live in reality TV. And there's like, storylines for the 4 minutes they appear on TV. Yeah. It was 4 minutes in my mind, it's not continuing to play out. The relationships and the drama are just that. And so I think, not wanting to ruin the viewer's experience of like, I don't really remember all of the drama or that specific conversation and just allowing them to experience me for me. But yeah, that was definitely a lot more active when the show had just first come out. I think now my social media has kind of tilted the scale for what I want people to know and understand about my business and about real estate and the actual deal flow and structure.
Yeah, and being around some people who've spent some time on camera, it's like other people will just show up and communicate to them very directly and candidly and sometimes politely and sometimes not politely. And I think it comes from they feel like they've met you 50 times. You're like, we're just meeting for the first time and you're giving me unsolicited advice. You're telling me everything I do wrong. You're telling me everything.
How I should dress.
How you should dress or what you could do better, to earn a listing. And I would think that's a big change, and because before the show you were you
had no media
Yeah, I was
presence,
gonna
had no
say,
social
like, yeah,
media. No, for
politely,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I did not experience that at all before the show. No, that definitely exists. But truly, I know my business better than anyone. I know the way that I show up. And I think it's just being true to that
Would
and
you
being
do it?
assured of that.
Would you do it again?
Yeah, I would do it again.
You felt the positives outweigh the negatives?
If I had, depends what the show is. If I had the opportunity to continue to be authentic in the business and the brand I'm building, then yes, I would absolutely do it again. To be involved with drama and for the sake of creating TV, I do not want to be a reality TV star in that right. I want to be continue selling great real estate.
Get out. Let's talk about selling great real estate.
Yes.
What have you seen, including yourself, is the number one common characteristic of the great ones in residential real estate, in terms that achieve tremendous success? What's a common thing they all do?
So getting off of the emotional roller coaster of sales, I think is the first thing early on in your career. But then being able to adjust and mirror your clients' tone and their energy for the way that you are able to communicate. So, for me, I have 6 different personalities that come out in any given day, depending on who I'm speaking to. And it's
Do you have a name for each one?
No, I don't. I feel like people would think that's really crazy.
That actually would be crazy. You're talking metaphorically.
Yes, I know. And then also staying power. Like you don't start to experience this level of success for 10 or 15 years in the business. And then it's all about the staying power. And it takes time to accumulate that business and that Rolodex, but then continuing to show up. And of course, do what you say you're going to do. That's basic. That's in any business. But you do that consistently for a decade and that's who you are.
What drove you in your 20s when you got into the business? What was your motivation?
My motivation then, as it is now, is to be able to provide and take care of my family.
Yeah.
That's the motivation. How that plays out and how it's been able to grow. Now it's how do I help other people get the tools that I have built over time to help them take care for their family. If that is, again, that's why I look for people that our values align. If that's someone's motivation, I'm very clear about that. I'm here because I want to be able to provide for it and take care of my family and build a legacy product that will afford me to do that. If that's what someone else wants to do, they will love working with me. If someone wants to get rich quick, I'm so not the person that they're going to want to work for, and that's okay.
I wanted to get rich quick.
I know. So did I. It doesn't play out that way.
Serious question. Number 1 in New York, number 8 nationally. You don't have to tell me what you make, but what is a top agent in that realm? What do they pull in any given calendar year?
Millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah. But transaction volume wise, we're doing this past year, we did just under 900 sales transactions for the year. And we're on slate to double that this current year.
That's awesome. And for the audience, there's number of transactions, there's volume, which is the dollar volume.
Yep.
You might sell a home for 10 million.
Yes,
right?
a lot of different metrics.
And then there's a commission off that. And depending if, it's 2, 2.5, 3, and then there's another side. This is where my question's going. Making millions of dollars, motivation, especially early on. I think everyone who sat in the chair is what I call financial insecurity. It's I got to make money. And then I want to provide for my family. If you're not there already, you're going to come to a point where your family's going to be fine. In fact, you're probably going to create so much wealth that it'll actually cause a different set of problems. How do you stay hungry when your belly is full?
Oof. That's a great question.
When money's no longer a motivator for you.
Yeah, no, I think, and I think that's where my, in the past year, I've really been leaning more into. First of all, I've never been chasing the money. It's been because I love doing what I do so much. When you love working and you show up with that contagious energy every day, people want to surround themselves and be with you. The next part of what I am hoping to achieve in my career is I've been working very hard on my own self-awareness, but helping give other people who work with and around me the self-awareness and the mentality for them to reach that next benchmark in their life and to create more impact on a personal level. And it's the same thing with every person you touch. Like, if I could open myself up and be honest and vulnerable and authentic in each conversation, and you pick up one thing that I say and it changes the way that you're thinking, then I've done my job today. And then I'm showing up and I'm succeeding. And that's now how I define success for what continues to motivate me as I'm growing and building.
You talked about helping people you work with on their mentality. What is your mentality? This is a podcast about mentalities.
It is. I think having a winner's mindset is super important.
Were you always like that as a kid, like competitive and needing to win?
I was always competitive. I was always very gritty, and I always was relentless in my pursuit to keep trying. And even when I saw failure, although I definitely allowed it to define me then, I now look at it, again, like I said, as that catalyst. And I think the biggest thing with mentality now that has shifted that I'd never had before is gratitude. So being very, very appreciative of each of those experiences, not just for them happening, but how it's shaping me. Like, even in the worst, darkest moments, like, this sucks, this is terrible, but I am going to get through it because I've gotten through, using my past experiences to define, like, I have gotten through worse. I will continue to get better. And I will be so much better off for this experience, and using those benchmarks and that history and that proven record to push me further and harder.
I feel like a lot of that mindset and perspective comes from experience.
Yes.
And some of the things you touched on earlier, going through trials and tribulations that when they happen, like, your dad's thing, or it just, when you go through it, it's like, this is terrible. But when you look back, you're like, man, that was great for me. And especially for my personal, professional growth. And then you go through that a bunch. You're like, actually, these moments are good. What advice would you have for younger professionals who don't have that perspective yet, where you're trying to say, like, hey, do things that are hard, do things where you might fail. And by the way, if something bad happens to you, it's actually a great thing.
I think what I wish I did when I was younger, was surround myself with people who challenged my thinking, who were not at my level, who were not at the caliber or the mindset where I was when I was 22. Yeah, go above you. Go to someone else with that perspective and with that experience. Be curious about other people's stories. And the only way to really, I have found, to get into that room, and I still continue to do it. Right now I have mentors who are in their 60s and 70s who have built very, very impressive businesses. And how does it change? It changes with each decade of your life. How do you continue to shift and change your perspective so I don't feel like I have to catch up? My 33-year-old self right now is not catching up with other 33-year-olds. It's playing in a place with 40 and 50-year-olds because the perspective of how I've shifted my mindset to start to be thinking of where were they in their journey. And it may not have actually happened to me, but I will be prepared when it does.
Talking about building a great business, okay? What is the most common misconception people have about residential agents that you want to correct the record?
The most,
when people say, oh, realtors.
Well, I think the economics for, especially coming off of, NAR settlements and commission changes and all those things.
Has that changed anything?
No, not at all.
No,
of course not.
And I can,
but it was a lot of great white noise for everyone to be thinking, which so many things that happen in the media. But I think the money attributed to how much agents are making, especially, put me aside, the average agent on a transaction, how much work actually goes into the transaction process of going and building their business and marketing properly. There's also not a lot of agents who, should be in the industry, but there's a great midsection of the market of agents who work really, really hard to provide incredible service that helps people build wealth and accumulate wealth through real estate. And so I think, people get hung up on price tags of commission amounts without realizing the amount of money that actually needs to go back into marketing and positioning and getting good service talent in order to service your properties.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the list side. The buy side,
Oh,
especially in residential. I mean, how many tours, how many walkthroughs, how many, again, maybe not in New York, in most parts of the country, getting in the car and driving them,
hours and hours and hours of work. Yeah, I mean,
the people who may not buy a house, they might not buy it through them,
and then that person needs to have the mental resilience and strength of like, it may not result in anything,
At that point, it's like a numbers game.
Yeah, exactly. Leaving holidays, having to work, or missing kids' games, or showing up, reprioritizing so you could be there for clients, of like hoping a deal will happen. It's not an easy industry. And it takes a long time to get to a place of comfort of like, now you have a baseline of business that starts to throw off, if you continue to work it, referral business. But it takes years and years to get there.
I agree. And, I also say the market's the market. If they're all overpaid, you'll find someone will take it for a less fee. And if they're just as good, you'll get great service and the fees will come down. And if they don't, and they don't trade it, or they misprice it, or they don't know how to market it, you won't sell it, and you'll come back to the agents who are charging 6%. Like, the invisible hand of the market is pretty effective over time.
Absolutely.
Totally. So the NAR thing, I didn't, who actually won was the attorneys.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. They basically took like, a decade's worth of realtor fees and put in their pocket.
Oh.
Yeah. Good for them.
Yeah. Good for them. A lot of other people aren't talking, the buyers and the sellers aren't talking about that, but yes, good for them.
So one of the things you said, real estate is very psychological, especially residential.
Yes.
How much, it doesn't have to be a percentage here, how much of a purchase is the math? Like, hey, what's the price per square foot? Am I getting a good deal? What's the financing? What are my payments? Can I afford my debt to income? And how much is just like, I felt when I came up to this property, this home, I felt it made me feel a certain way and I want to own it.
I'd say 30% is the math, 70% is psychology.
That much. Wow.
Yeah.
What can you do as an agent to increase the probabilities of a good feeling?
It's about the show experience, and it's about the connection. We were talking about earlier, shooting the shit. We were talking about, how you make someone feel and how you disarm them when they walk through the door. People want to shop with friends. People want to feel comfortable. So yes, a property needs to look amazing, and it needs to show like that's all the things you get in the handbook of now you're going to become a realtor. Like, this is marketing 101. Make sure that the house looks and shows and feels good. But like the way you open the door, the way you greet someone, the energy that you give them, the way that you shake their hand, like all of those things are signals that are making someone feel comfortable with, they're either going to be open and talking about their experience as they're walking through a home, and that will give you the opportunity to respond to what they're saying, to help upsell them or to help ease their concerns, right? To overcome objections, or they'll feel armed and they won't say a word during the showing. And then how are you going to sell them anything? They're going to leave. They're going to talk to their agent who's going to say, yeah, it's a terrible property, or not be able to have that same conversion. So I think looking for the agent helping reach and match energy levels with the person walking through the door is super important. I
come into one of your showings, I'm stoic. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to, even if I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, this is the most amazing. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to show them that because they'll use it against me and negotiate. How do you get people to open up?
Talk about their family. Yeah. Talk about their life. I don't talk about real estate when I'm showing real estate. Oh, it's your granddaughter's. Yesterday was a great example. I was showing a very stoic older couple moving from Minneapolis. And they didn't want to play their hand that they loved the apartment, but they want to be in Park Slope next to their daughter. It was their granddaughter's birthday. So now the whole showing I talked about their grandkids being walking distance, and next year that they could have their granddaughter's birthday in this building. Like, how amazing would it be in the children's play area over here? And I just made it all about them. Like, where's your granddaughter going to sleep when she stays over? Do you cook for
master manipulator over here?
Do you cook for her? Oh, is she going to sit on the island? What do you make together? Let them talk about them and their family.
What's the difference between being manipulating and influencing? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know the difference. What is something high net worth clients care about more than most people would think? You're in the luxury space. So.
The assurance, first of all, knowing your information, but then like holding the line when you need to. I have found as I was starting to break into working with higher net worth clients, like I would bow down to what they were saying. Like, they must know better than me because they make more money than I do. Being confident in that I'm the professional and that I know what I'm talking about in the real estate space. And you could do whatever you want with the information, but this is what the data is telling us. This is what the market's saying to us. And again, like the psychology of sales, like, sure, you may be fixated on numbers, but this is how the market's responding. And being able to speak from all different angles is very, very important, but also being firm on your approach and your direction and moving with intention.
You've mentioned data now a couple times. What is one piece of data that every buyer of real estate should hyper focus on, putting feelings aside?
I mean, every buyer, every agent?
Buyer.
Buyer.
You have a listener, they're going to buy their first condo, townhome, home, or they're going to buy their 10th, I guess.
So, I would pull it out of real estate and numbers, especially in the market we're in now, and focus on the financial life that you are trying to build for your family. Don't get hyper fixated on rates or pricing. Think about the lifestyle that you want for your family and then work backwards from there of how are you entering the market now and use a lot of different people's opinions on where do you see the market going for when you can re-enter again if now is not the right point in time. But I think instead of getting so hyper fixated on the economics of the world that we live in today, which is a very real component, focusing on what is it going to look like and how does it change your family structure over the next few years for how you act now.
Let's talk New York real estate.
Yes.
You mentioned a boom around Thanksgiving, but what do you anticipate being the effect the Mamdani effect has on the residential luxury market?
Truthfully, it's the opposite of what I thought it was going to be. I'm shocked at the strength that we felt just over the past few weeks. I think we're going to continue as we've seen over the past few years. Buyers pull in and out of the market based on news cycles at any point in time. So January, I think there's going to be new buyers who want to enter the market. I think then there'll be a pullback. I think, then we'll see bonus season again. We'll feel more people coming in. But I think all in all, a lot of buyers have pushed off their purchase 4 years now because of rates. And the reality is people need to move. People's families are expanding or they need to downsize. And so I think that 2026 is going to be quite an active year across the board with transaction numbers. I can't speak at what price point or volume wise, but there's been a lot of buyers who've been sitting on the sidelines, and I anticipate they're going to come into the market in 2026.
What was the peak volume year for New York? We were talking offline about peak volume, but like what was it? Was it pre-COVID?
No, I would say, 2019 was great. 2020 was great, but 2021, the scales really tilted because all of a sudden, like you felt pricing come down and buyers going up. So dollar amount, like pricing wasn't starting to appreciate, but you had a lot more transactions in the market because people could enter the market again.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant volume.
So
21 was for commercial.
Yeah,
for us.
For
But
sure.
Commercial in New York, I want to say the peak was 2014.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with some of the regulatory climate
For
of
sure.
Rental homes and rent stabilization, all that.
Yeah, I would say we felt the strength in 2019 going. 2020 was the first 3 months of the year were phenomenal. And then it's,
then 20.
Yeah.
How about pricing? How is New York pricing? How has that gone over the last, 4 or 5 years?
Continues to dip and go up, but pricing's continuing to appreciate now.
It is?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Different pockets performing differently, like downtown market. The problem is so many different neighborhoods.
That's what people always like, what's going on in the real estate market? I was like, well, there is no general market.
No. My Brooklyn market has been, it's insane. Like every year, 5, 6, 7% increases. Some projects we see 10 and 15% increases from a neighborhood perspective of where pricing should be. I have, neighborhoods in Brooklyn that do better than the Upper East Side, that do better than downtown. Now, this year is the first year in the past 5 years, I'm starting to see that shift and that change. Why? Because the monthly numbers in Brooklyn are starting to get higher and start to compete with the Manhattan market. So we're starting to see more buyers come back to Manhattan. I would say that's one of the coolest things I love about how I'm positioned in the market is that I have projects in almost every neighborhood. So I'm literally watching the flow of buyers as they went from, downtown Tribeca to Upper East Side for schools to Brooklyn for more space, now coming back to Manhattan. And we see a lot of those continual circles happening.
From an outsider's perspective, depending on what news channel you watch in New York, and how does law and order affect residential real estate pricing and transactions?
It really honestly isn't. I think what it is impacting a lot more is foreign purchasers thinking that they should invest, right? A foreign buyer is looking for an investment property.
Yeah.
When they think about what city am I going to put my money into, I think that is the biggest demographic of buyers that is being impacted right now with what we are seeing happening in New York City. But average, the New Yorker who's going to be in New York, they're not leaving because of that.
Do you guys track what percentage of, let's say, what's the definition of luxury? Is it over $1 million or
over 10 million?
Over 10 million. I was going to say not over $1 million. That's a national. Over 10 million. What is the percentage of buyers that are foreign? Did you say 30%? Or am I making that up?
I would say you're around the 30% range right 30%. Now. Yeah.
All right.
When you get to the 50 million plus, you're, closer to, 50, 60% international.
60%.
Yeah.
And is there a certain part in the country most are coming from? Is it Asia? Is it the Middle East?
So it was Asia, then it was Russia, splattering of Europeans.
Not a lot of Russians anymore.
Yeah. Continues to be a lot from Asia. And we're also seeing a lot of Middle Eastern money as well.
Let's talk about the Masters division. So
yes.
What's your vision for the company? Where are you guys going to be in 10 years?
Oh, as we have really secured our space in the development world, it's how are we continuing to bring enhanced packages to our clients. I think really the data is something that I dive deeper into. What does that look like on a much bigger platform and scale using all of this information we've had? How do we correlate it? How do we use that to better inform decision-making and provide better services and packages to our clients beyond the scope of what we're currently.
When you say package, you mean like a literal off?
No, that we're already doing.
Package, yeah.
But how are we now using transactional information that is not reported because the media and the markets and these reports don't know how many people are coming through any given building, what their budgets are, how many buyers are searching, where they're actually transacting. We have all of that data for every single building. So how are we using that to inform different decisions for how our clients are growing their portfolios? And a lot of what we've done in the past, 2 years is not just working with an individual client, but how are we building our clients' portfolios throughout the city and into other markets? Because once you understand the new development space, you could replicate that wherever you are because it becomes numbers marketing. And so that's one component of it. The media component of it is another very big vertical of how are we doing more in that space, in the real estate space, as well as building community, which I think is very, very important, not just for where you live, but marketing community, again, to build larger portfolios and to build our clients' position in the marketplace.
When you founded the company, did you have a long-term vision for where the company go? Is it a big exit? Is it to build a great cash flowing business that you give to your kids one day? Like what do you see?
When I started,
yeah.
It was basically out of necessity. Where I am now is a great cash flowing business.
Yeah, you and I have a lot in common.
Yeah. Pretty much was like, okay, I guess we're doing this thing on our own now. And 4 years later, here we are.
I founded it. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I'd love to hear about you.
No, I'm not. I'll tell you offline longer,
Okay.
But the idea of mine was created and founded the company within 60 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just because something happened, I was like, oh, I got to move quick,
Mm-hmm. But I think there's also a lot of beauty in that. Because,
well, if I'd given it more thought, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, totally.
Paralysis by analysis is a real thing.
Yes, it is.
What's the hardest part of running a service-based real estate company? Where you look at other industries, you're like, oh, I'm so jealous.
I think the hardest part, having to be on all of the time is one component, but then how do I replicate me being on all of the time and do that at more, right? I think that's what I haven't been able to crack yet with so many clients, so much business is how do I make sure I could do more of this? And how do I change that for the growth plan so I can grow at the scale that I want, so I can make sure. And so I'm working on what that actually looks like. But I think that's been a really big challenge.
And you're still doing deals.
I am.
So you're not scalable.
No, I'm not.
And you're a very successful deal maker. And so how much time do you have to dedicate to the business? And how do you balance being, I'll use a football analogy, being the best player and the best coach?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it boils down to training. And I think my definition of what training looked like is changing rapidly. Because it's not just about the deal structure. It's like, and especially now doing this for a few years, it's the longevity of you pour so much into building someone's mindset to get them prepared for what a 10-year growth plan looks like. How do you make sure you retain them for 10 years?
Yeah. Elevator assets.
Yeah. And so that is what I'm working very hard to shift in my next phase of business approach for how am I recruiting, how am I training, how am I onboarding, how am I motivating people, not for where they are today in their career, but giving them the path forward for how they will be able to build their career over time by using what I've built as the case study for themselves, And I truly believe if you're willing to show up and work hard enough for it, like it's possible.
Yeah.
It's just being very aware of what is the sacrifice you need to make in order to make it happen.
Yeah. Well, we're in the same business, and I could share with you offline what there's three things. One, again, high level, in my opinion, is to build truly the best platform from a value proposition, which is a blend of support, technology, and splits.
Yep.
So it's a kind of combination of that, to where no matter how much they love you, they're gonna talk to other companies. It's human nature. What does that guy get?
Curiosity.
Yeah. And so knowing that you can never stop that from happening, let them go out and see what's out there and be like, you know what? Actually, what I got here is pretty good. That's one. Two is it's the personal relationship with the founder, with it's just like
it is
what it is. And then three is never stop going out and get more talent.
Yeah.
That's it. But I could, we could talk.
I would love that.
About that. Yeah. Yeah. I remember first time we had an agent leave. It was someone, you hire them out of college and you train them for years and you give everything and you invite them to your house. You go to their kids' birthday parties. You gave them their first client. You pitched every deal. You did everything you could. And they just made a decision, as much as you disagree, that they thought something was better out there for you. And I remember getting so upset and just feeling like this isn't right. And this business sucks. And then all of a sudden you're like, it is what it is. So you could sit here and complain about it, or you just go find their replacement.
Yep.
That's it. So
yeah, totally.
When I started looking at it that way, it helped me, it's a two-way street.
It is.
So if you lose 5-10 people a year, go out and get 30-40 and the rules actually benefit you.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see here. I talk for days on that.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
You operate in some of the most competitive markets in the world. And I'd argue against the most competitive set of professionals, because the luxury, biggest deals, probably correlates the biggest fees. The biggest fees are going to attract the best, So what is one strategy that you're willing to share with us today that, in your opinion, has really effectively allowed you to set you and your company apart?
Stop playing by a playbook. Like, there is no rules for how you can position or how you can market or what you can do. And so how do I differentiate myself? Whenever I look at anything, it's like, how do I break it? And then how do I rebuild it? And then how do I differentiate in the market? And so I think that curiosity has to continue to remain through and through, of like not thinking that I have the answer because it worked somewhere else once. That is a data point, but every single product, every single property, and every single client and their strategy is different. And I think that's another big differentiator, is the first question I ask any client is, what is their strategy? Because for every person, it's different. What's motivating them and what do they want to do? Some developers are just building legacy towers because they want legacy towers and they want their name on the door. Others are trying to hit a price per square foot. Others are trying to have that big exit. Others are trying to put together a syndicate so they could go out and do bigger projects and raise capital. Everyone has a different reason for why they have built a building and what they're trying to do with that asset. So understanding that and then building the strategy to achieve that goal is huge.
Speaking of strategy, what's a strategy maybe in your first year or two of being the CEO that you were really excited or confident about that didn't work the way you wanted it to?
Yeah. I thought that if I showed everyone how hard I worked, it would motivate them to also work just as hard. It did not.
You're the founder.
It did not. It made me very unrelatable because people are like, I don't want to work 20 hours a day. I want to go home and have balance and I want to be with my family. And so, yeah, that definitely was not it.
What are your thoughts on work-life balance?
I don't believe in work-life balance.
Hey, look at that. You see that? 100 episodes in. I don't believe in.
Life is life. Right? It's all part of life.
Do what makes you happy, man.
If you can't find a way to enjoy what you're doing throughout the whole day, one part is going to sacrifice or be miserable or compromise. Like, that's not it. So like some days I love being in the office still 20 hours a day and other days I don't. And that's okay. But like show up and be yourself. And you got to have fun. I can't underestimate like how important it is to have fun doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think the people who really espouse work-life balance or really rail against someone who works 20 hours a day, it's because they view working 20 hours a day through the prism their own eyes, which is they hate what they do. So doing it for 20 hours a day, like they would hate that life.
Yeah.
They would. But what I think sometimes they might miss is you don't hate what you do.
Yeah.
No, and maybe you even love it. So I go to someone who's like, hey, like it's terrible. You work 15 hours a day. That's so sad. I was like, well, what would you love to do for 15 hours? They're like, I'd love to, I don't know. I'd love to give me something here. I don't know. What do normal people love to do?
Bake in their cook,
there you go.
Cook all Saturday long. Yeah. I would hate that.
I would love to cook 15 hours a day. Yeah. I'd cook 7 days a week, 15 hours a day. Cause that's my passion. Yeah. You're like, for right or for wrong, God made you that way. God made Bianca to love cooking in real estate 15 to 20 hours a day. And when you frame it that way, they're like, okay. I mean, I don't understand why she'd love it, but like that makes actually more sense.
Oh yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, right?
That's so good.
The other thing is work-life balance. Sometimes I'll say, well, how do you evaluate balance? Is it over 24 hours? Is it over 24 years?
Yeah.
Because over 24 hours, yes, if you work 20 hours or 15 hours a day, you're not balanced. But if you look at over the course of your professional career where I say, hey, from 22 to 35, I'm making up, like front load your career and then you create wealth and you create financial independence. You actually could live a very balanced life. Maybe later in life you have children and you want to spend a bunch of time with them. Front loading your career actually gives you a lot of optionality in that sense. So
yeah. Listen, I think it's, in life, we get to create the exact life that we want if we're willing to be unconventional about it and own and demand what we want. You know, for me, travel is so important. I rather be in the office. Every single day I'm in New York, I'm in my office. But you know, when I go on vacation, I'm seeing the world. I'm being curious. That's important to me. Other people would be like, I don't want to do that. It doesn't matter. Just be really excited about what you want to do and know what it is. And don't compare your life to someone else's that you don't want those things. You know?
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes, it is.
You probably go on vacation, nice places. You're like, man, maybe I should open an office here, sell some luxury real estate. I guarantee you do. All right, what is one piece of advice you would give to your 21-year-old self? If you could go back and talk to her.
Continue to work on becoming the best version of yourself and learning who you are in every aspect of life. Also, don't underestimate how important your significant other will be in the trajectory.
Good or bad. Yeah.
Good or bad. Yeah. Good or bad. And so if you continue to work on yourself and you figure out how to be alone and show up in the world and become self-assured and confident and curious and develop your mind and surround yourself with people who excite you, you carry that forward with you, you will start to attract the right people who should be in your life.
One of the things I always ask, we do it at our company, is like start, stop, keep.
Mm-hmm.
What is one thing every audience member should start doing? What is something perhaps everyone should start doing? And then this one's harder. What is something people should keep doing?
Okay, so start, stop. Second stop. Okay, everyone should start doing. Be very clear on the story that they are telling themselves about who they are and how they show up in the universe. Are you a positive person? Are you a negative person? Like, who are you and what energy do you show up with every day? Start by identifying who that is. Does that make you happy or proud of yourself? Or do you actually dislike that version of yourself that you continue showing up to be? Something that you should stop doing. Stop thinking that other people have it easier than you and that you're not in control of every single decision you make and every single way that you respond to what's happening at, for, or around you. Like, that's 100% within your control to determine your emotions and your response to what's happening in the world. And that was the last one.
Keep doing. It's a little harder because you're making an assumption of what people are doing, but.
Gosh, okay. What you should keep doing.
What is something you tell the people you work with to keep doing?
Keep trusting in the process. It all is going to unfold. Everything's happening for a reason. You just have to be looking for it and understanding what it is and keep being grateful for it.
What's the nicest thing anyone's ever done for you professionally?
I've had some pretty incredible mentors in my
You only get to pick one.
You know, I would say it was probably one of the best things that someone did for me was my producer when I started filming the show was telling me, the world's going to write your narrative or you could tell your own story. Which one are you going to allow it to be? And that gave me the control to actually own my story and tell it for the first time.
And then the TV company changed it all for TV.
Correct.
But it's a great lesson. Yeah. And that gave you the confidence. So
yeah. Like people will always have their story for how you show up or who you are, but no one knows what's going on behind closed doors. You get to write your own narrative. You get to be the shaper of your past. You get to be the creator of your future. Like, own that power and craft it to work for you.
When you're done, when you hang up your cleats many, many moons from now, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want people to say about you? What do you want to be known for?
Inspiring people, treating people fairly, helping them achieve financial freedom, and honestly, enjoying the shit out of life. Like, I want to inspire people to have great, fun lives, embrace the messy parts, but, be really, really grateful and have fun during the good times.
All right, last question. You mentioned travel, but how do you have fun? How do you celebrate your wins?
Well, I dance regularly, and that's my therapy.
What type of
and
dancing?
I love that. Salsa, rumba, cha-cha.
Yeah,
I literally go to a dance
you go to
studio and I
hip-hop
take dance
classes on the
lessons.
street?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So people go to therapists and I go to dance.
Twerking.
So I do that on a weekly basis. But I have a very
Sorry, I don't think you heard that. I said, a little twerking. And you're like, I do that on a weekly basis. Like, okay, all right.
No,
Hey,
I didn't. I missed that part.
No judgment. No judgment. Whatever makes you happy.
Whatever makes you happy, right?
But you love to dance.
I love to dance. And I do love to travel, and I'm part of a few great travel groups of cool CEOs and founders, and we travel together, that's awesome. And I love being with my family.
What's the favorite place that you've been to that no one would ever think to go to?
Ooh, I mean,
you got to give away a secret.
Honestly, wild salmon fishing in Alaska was one of the coolest experiences because I was off the grid for 4 days. My
Yeah.
cell phone did not work. There's no service.
No.
Took 20 hours to get to Alaska.
Salmon fishing like on the ocean or in the rivers?
Oh, and the ocean, like
Wow.
deep
And they're probably
sea,
big, right?
massive. We pulled up, I don't know, 300 or 400 pounds of salmon. I went home with 60 pounds of
That's
salmon.
very cool. Fresh caught.
But like you're on a boat for 10 hours a day, completely remote, cannot be contacted.
Better hope you don't get seasick.
What? I was terribly seasick the first day. I figured it out, but I've gone twice now, and it's a trip that I would want to go
There you go.
do almost every year because it's that
Salmon
cool.
fishing in Alaska. Well, Bianca, this was awesome. You have a great energy, a great story. You've done so well, and also a real estate person. So
Yes.
I appreciate that. For everyone listening, be sure to connect with Bianca D'Alessio on Instagram and LinkedIn at Bianca D'Alessio. And if you found value in this episode, don't forget to follow me on X, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Just search Kyle Matthews CEO and catch more inspiring conversations on the Matthews Mentality Podcast wherever you listen. Thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank
This
you.
is awesome.